Hey, welcome back. The maintenance has concluded and the servers has come back up, which means time to check out the new patch. First, the new Mirror of Scarlet Desire Transcendence dungeon has been added, and with it, 3 new sets of Arcanas. These Arcanas are pretty much a straight upgrade from the ones we had, which means that we will have to refarm new sets. There's 3 new sets in total. The first one, Overture, is a PvE set that gives boss damage tolerance for the 2-piece and PvE damage boost for the 4-piece. Second set is Protected Soul, with the 2-piece giving 5% restoration and the 4-piece giving 5% weapon damage boost and a 10,000 damage protective shield when your HP drops below 30% with a 2-minute cooldown. And the third set, the Dedication set, gives 5% damage tolerance at 2-piece and 5% critical damage tolerance at 4-piece, as well as 50% PvP damage tolerance if you get stunned for 5 seconds, with a 2.5-minute recast. You know that the main difference with these Arcana sets are that the God stat mix and match are different. Make sure to go over all of the cards to make sure that the God stats fit. You will be able to obtain all of those cards, including the scale, directly from the boss chest, and you will also be able to transmute them using the new Noble Crystal, which you can transmute from Noble Crystal fragments obtained in the new Transcendence dungeon. This new dungeon also gives the new Bailick mat for the upcoming Emperor Dragon craft, as well as a large amount of Usteel fragments, an item to craft a special skin box at a 1% drop rate, so good luck with that, and statue fragments for a new Pantheon item. These are the stats. As for the eye level requirement, stage 1 will require 3.2k, stage 2 3.5, stage 3 3.8, and finally stage 4 will require 4k. A few changes has been made to the ranking point rule for Transcendence dungeon, namely switching a group member midway through will not provide them with ranking points at the end, and failing to meet the loot requirement will also not grant you ranking points. This is likely to prevent carry runs. Next, a sizable amount of changes have been made to regular expeditions. First, the Kina rewards from 4 and 5 star dungeons has been buffed by between 30 to 50%, namely with the biggest buff being to hard mode. The changes to entry as well as the diminishing return from a few weeks ago has functionally been somewhat reversed. What this essentially means is that you're going to be doing the same amount of dungeons on your main as you were prior to the maintenance, but ults are basically back on the table if you want to run them, as the amount of conquest dungeons you can run a week before hitting the diminishing return is now 84 instead of 63, and Transcendence is 56 instead of 42. So if you want to min-max everything, you're basically going to be running your main character as well as 3 ults, and between this and the increase to the Kina amount earned, the Kina output weekly has functionally been doubled if you run everything. Next, a new daily dungeon has been added. That new daily dungeon will give you bound Kina, or a maximum of 300k, and will have you run around to collect Kina on the ground while avoiding bombs. Changes has been made to Abyss World bosses as well as sieges, and you will now get contribution by doing PvP around the boss area. A couple of additions has been made to the HUD edit function, namely you're now able to snap things based on the grid. You can now undo and redo edits, have a forced margin on the side, preview your HUD changes out of the menu without saving them. You can also now export your HUD, which means you're going to be able to spread your HUD across all of your different old characters as well as share them with friends. And you can finally expand the size as well as expand the amount of buffs and debuffs shown for a maximum of 28 each. The crafting HUD has been improved a bit, and all of the upcrafting stuff is now on a different tab to avoid crowding the main recipes. Upcrafting has been added to Horn Dragon gear, so you're now able to upgrade into Splendent with the Kina cost. And the reason why that is the upcoming Emperor Dragon craft will require you to have the Splendid version of the Horn Dragon craft in order to craft, which probably means that that new craft is going to be a guaranteed craft with some sort of material you get from the new Sanctuary. A couple of UI improvements has been added, namely if you have the second sub now, the cube automatically selects 2 cube opening. You won't have to click on the plus anymore, and you can now see how many revives people have in Sanctuary. The impact type chance stat on guards has been changed to be a status effect chance increase, and the conversion rate is 1:1. Now this is actually quite big for range classes, as debuffs will now be able to stick a lot more reliably in PvP, and a number of QL update has been added. Namely, the cooldown of Seeds of Detection has been halved, and more sources of them have been added. Namely, you're now able to obtain them as a reward from doing sugar games and inside of cubes. And a number of bug fixes and slight quality of life improvement have been added to a number of content. More notably, you will now more harshly be punished for dying in Transcendence on the end score. Crafting is now completely unavailable in the Abyss. Text speed settings have been added, and guards have been added to Verderon. And finally, you're now able to display a back indicator for bosses in dungeons. You can find that setting into Info Display Combat. Next, balance changes. First, on Defiance, the 100% status effect resist has been changed to a complete CC immunity for the duration. This is your cue to start using the additional 2-second duration on it. And Trinials received a bit of a nerf, as pretty much all of the defensive Sigma buffs will now ignore its effect. So you won't have to preemptively defensively buff when an assassin is about to attack you, as Trinials will no longer be able to put them into cooldown. Next, on Gladiator, the 20% MP cost reduction from launch stands has been added back to the base effect of the skill, and a tooltip change to Marking Blade has been added. On Templar, the Soul's Fury has received a reduction in proc rate with the stun. On Chanta, a couple of bug fixes have been brought, more notably, will no longer have mobility on Gust Rampage by default. On Cleric, a couple of bug fixes also have been brought, namely, and finally, after how many months has it been now? Debilitating Mark will no longer miss targets if they move even a little bit, and Salvation now properly removes all dart effects. And finally, and more sizably on Sork, the Arctic Armor will now have a mana shield where half of the damage you take when your MP is above 50% will get inflicted on your MP instead. The second spec now increases the effect of Absorb Essence by 50%, and the third spec now increases all of the attributes instead of just the slow. The Elemental Enhancement, the animation has been sped up, and the buff now applies immediately. The Soul Freeze, the animation has been sped up quite significantly. The Frost Burst, the frost is no longer removed when hitting a skill. The PvP damage has been increased by 20%, and the fourth spec has been changed from a mana burn to a block and evasion ignore with a forced critical hit. And the fifth spec has been changed from a 25% chance to reapply freeze to a 50% chance to reset Frost Burst cooldown. Frost, the frost chance has been increased by 5%. On Firestorm, the combat speed reduction has been changed to a quite sizable 50% healing reduction, and the bug that made it so the projectile disappeared if you dodged has been fixed. On Bitter Cold, the fifth spec Frost extension has been changed to a 1 second cooldown reduction of frost on hit. On Hellfire, the projectile is now much faster. On Steel Barrier, you now recover 300 stamina when the shield expires. And on Grace of Enhancement, the MP trigger is now above 25% MP instead of 50%. And that will be everything for the patch notes. Let's move on to the data mining. Now, as always, data mining is courtesy of YouKitty on my Discord. If you would like to see the data mining happen in real time, or you would like to browse previous data mining, the link for my Discord will be in the description. Now, this week is not a big one. Like, most of this is just strings from the new Transcendence dungeon, and it does seem like NCSoft is being more careful with what they show in the client, as some of the previously data mined stuff has been hidden somewhere else. The main stuff this week is a placeholder map for a new battleground has been added, a new pet has been added, and that is pretty much it for the data mining. And that's it for this week. Once again, if you like the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I stream this game several times a week on both Twitch and YouTube, so make sure to swing by and say hi. Until next time, take care.